Today, we're unpacking a moment that completely transcended sports. A footballer scores a goal, the cameras from all over the world are rolling, and then, in an absolute instant, a single gesture transforms a standard football match into a massive geopolitical controversy. We're looking at the 2026 World Cup, an event that's literally designed to unite people, which suddenly found itself right at the epicenter of a deeply dividing global debate.
Picture the scene for a second. You've got literally 60,000 fans packed into SoFi Stadium out in Los Angeles. The atmosphere is totally electric, crackling with that raw kind of energy you really only get at a World Cup. Every single eye in the stadium, plus the millions of people watching on screens around the globe, are glued to the pitch. It's not just a game, it's a spectacle. It's this incredible pressure cooker of national pride and intense athletic competition.
And honestly, the sporting weight of this moment just cannot be overstated. It's Group G, Iran versus New Zealand. Iran is fighting tooth and nail, and they desperately need a breakthrough. And then, it happens. A crucial headed finish by Iranian midfielder Mohammad Mohebi. The ball hits the back of the net, pulling his team level at 2-2. Now, in any normal circumstance, this is exactly the part where a player runs to the corner flag, slides on his knees, and just embraces his teammates in pure joy, right? But instead of jumping around, instead of hugging, Mohebi does something entirely different. It was a gesture that basically stopped everything. The roar of the crowd completely shifted. Even the commentary just paused. In a fraction of a second, the narrative of the entire match violently pivoted. Because what happened next wasn't just a celebration. It became an inciting incident that threw the whole tournament into absolute chaos. Okay, let's dive into this. Minute 64. This is the exact moment time essentially froze. Mohebi levels the score, and the whole world is just waiting for his reaction. To really grasp the magnitude of the fallout, we need to look at precisely what he did in those few seconds right after that 64th minute goal. Let's actually break this down, almost like we're analyzing security footage, because the specifics here matter immensely. Step 1, Mohebi touches 2 fingers to his arm. Step 2, he extends his right hand forward. And step 3, he points, exactly like he's firing a gun. He doesn't smile, he doesn't run, he just makes this very deliberate 3-part motion. And in the vacuum of his silence, well, the rest of the world immediately started filling in the blanks. Moving on to part 1, the social media explosion, a world divided. Now, the stadium definitely erupted, but the true explosion? That happened entirely off the pitch. And honestly, this just brilliantly illustrates the power of the internet today. Within minutes of the final whistle, the clip of that specific gesture didn't just circulate, it completely blanketed social media, racking up millions of views. It was literally everywhere. And as that view count skyrocketed, the phones over at FIFA headquarters started ringing off the hook. The reaction online was split directly down the middle, essentially creating 2 entirely different realities. On one side, you had critics, including a lot of Iranian opposition supporters and diaspora communities, who viewed this with absolute fury. They interpreted the gesture as a dark, direct reference to Iran's security forces, the exact same forces that shot protesters in the streets during the 2022 Masa Amini uprising. To them, social media posts were labeling it a terrorist act and demanding immediate bans. But on the flip side, defenders of Mohebi saw something else entirely. To them, it was just a simple, playful celebration, just a spontaneous, non-political, cowboy-style pew-pew gesture that we've seen dozens of times before in football. So you have 2 fiercely opposed interpretations of one single silent movement. And this brings us right to the governing body's ultimate dilemma. See, FIFA regulations maintain a super strict, uncompromising ban on all political displays inside World Cup venues. The rule itself is black and white. But the reality of this situation, it is entirely gray. Was this a deeply political inflammatory display, or was it just a footballer spontaneously celebrating a goal? FIFA was suddenly tasked with answering an almost impossible question, thrust right into the middle of this deeply sensitive global debate. Which brings us to part 2, a match bathed in pre-game tension. Because, the controversy didn't actually start in the 64th minute. That gun gesture didn't just happen in a vacuum. It was really the spark that ignited a powder keg that had been packing with explosives since before the sun even came up that day. Let's map out this escalating tension on our timeline for June 15th. So, in the morning, a related court case had just been decided, which was already putting everyone totally on edge. Then, pre-match inside the stadium, Iranian fans were actually booing their own national anthem. Outside, protesters were actively waving a flag that FIFA had explicitly banned. So, by the time we even hit the 64th minute and Mohebi makes that gun gesture, the atmosphere is already incredibly toxic. And the whole thing culminates post-match with a mandatory immediate evacuation of the Iranian team down to Tijuana, Mexico. It was just a day of relentless compounding chaos. To really grasp the human element of this timeline, we have to look at the players themselves. Under strict arrangements with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the team wasn't even allowed to stay in Los Angeles. Iran's star striker, Mehdi Taremi, captured the total exhaustion of the squad perfectly. He said, "Before the match, we knew we had to leave LA immediately. And it is a bad situation. We are just tired of this situation. It is so bad, and it affects our team." I mean, these aren't just athletes. They're individuals caught in this crushing, exhausting geopolitical vice. So in the immediate aftermath, we are left with some massive unanswered questions. Most noticeably, there was absolutely no official statement from Mohammad Mohebi himself before he boarded that flight to Mexico. And obviously, his silence only fueled the speculation. Meanwhile, FIFA issued this brief statement confirming they were officially reviewing the incident, which leaves the heavy potential for severe player bans hanging ominously over the rest of the tournament. And the clock is ticking incredibly fast, bringing us to part 3, FIFA's impossible next move. Because as we know, the tournament doesn't just stop for controversy. The schedule is locked in, and Iran has another massive fixture right on the horizon. So the crucial point is this looming June 21st match against Belgium. And incredibly, it is taking place in the exact same location, SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. The stakes here are just immense. Is FIFA actually going to drop the hammer and punish Mohebi before kickoff? Will the protests outside the stadium grow even larger now that the anthem has been booed on the global stage? Are those banned flags going to multiply? Iran's campaign has suddenly become the single most talked about story of the 2026 World Cup, completely overshadowing the football itself. Which leaves us with the ultimate question, really the core theme of this entire explainer. Can football ever truly remain separate from global politics? When a single physical gesture from one player can ignite international fury, divide an entire fan base, and force the hand of global sporting bodies, is the whole idea of a purely neutral sporting event just an illusion? It's a huge question that FIFA, the players, and the fans are going to be forced to grapple with as this tournament unfolds. Thanks so much for joining me to unpack this incredible story.